Hello everyone, this is Nitin Gupta, founder and CEO at FlytBase. Welcome to the first session of AI in Action. So we are starting this webinar series. We plan to do it every Thursday, 4 p.m. IST. And the reason we decided to do this is because we're getting a lot of requests from our friends and everybody in the community to do this. We are AI first company. We use AI extensively at everything that we do at FlytBase. And the basic understanding is that in order to be an AI company, you have to move at AI speed. So charity begins at home. Unless we are able to leverage AI and do everything at AI speed, there is no point in adding AI features to a product. That is the fundamental belief, and that is why we have been working quite aggressively at incorporating AI in everything that we do. And this session is all about sharing whatever we have learned, whatever we have figured out on this journey. And it has been quite an exciting journey. All our teams, almost everybody at FlytBase is becoming an AI power user. And today we are going to now share with you a few of the hacks or things that have benefited us immensely. Every Thursday, we plan to do this series, AI in Action, to share whatever we are learning. And the idea is that first 5 minutes, we'll have Achal, who will quickly share with us AI this week. So whatever has happened in the world of AI this week. So we'll have a quick recap of that. And then we will move over to Vaishali today. Vaishali will be sharing some very interesting hacks on the marketing side. And this has been amazing. We have shrunk the work that required several people over a couple of months into just a single person in less than a day or something. So Vaishali will share that. Then we will have Prathamesh, who is completely redoing the way products are built. And this is again super interesting, that how can you implement this TDB framework that Prathamesh has been working on, think, design, build. How do you shrink your product development into just a matter of days instead of taking months and very large teams? So we'll discuss that, and we'll see how he has been able to take some of the components already in production using this method. And finally, I'll close the session in about half an hour. So without spending more time on this, let's get started with Achal.
Hi, everybody. Awesome. Thank you, Nitin. Thank you for setting this up, and lovely to see everybody here. We already have more than 60 plus people already joined, and we'll be expecting more, and number is continuously increasing. So we have 70 people now, and I can see people from Surat, Bangalore, Pune joining. So glad you could take out some time during your weekday to come and join us for this. So let me quickly jump into my part, which is AI this week. So things are moving so fast these days that you need to actually keep a tab of what's going on, because a tool that you may found like 2 weeks back may not be relevant today, and there is much better or something better which has come out. So you need to keep your tabs open or eyes open, right, where you'd be able to see what is coming and follow the right people and stuff like this. So this is an effort where we can quickly see those things which came across over the last 1.5 week. So let's go through that. So the number one thing is the product called Manus, right? I thought it's an Indian name, but turned out it's a French name that they've taken. It's a Chinese company, and this is a fully autonomous AI agent which they've built at a fraction of cost. So it is much more personalized, gives results, it takes autonomous action, and AI assistants are coming now rapidly. I'll share one more, but this kind of bridges the minds and action. So whether you're planning a trip to Japan or deeply analyzing Tesla stock or any other stock there, you can create a lot of things where you can just put that task, close your computer, come back after 5-10 minutes, and it will create the entire dashboard, analytics report, or plan your trip and everything. So it's taking actions behalf on you, and while you kind of work on different things, it'll get your work done there. So do learn more about Manus. It's only right now with the select access and referral. So you join the wait list, but you can check that and just Google Manus, and you'll be able to understand much better. Next one is Microsoft Dragon Copilot. So Dragon Copilot exists for a while, but the latest update and the AI assistant that comes with it merges voice dictation with ambient listening to handle clinical documentation. So anybody who's right now there from healthcare or building anything from that domain, this is fundamental.
The way clinicians work. And it all begins by streamlining documentation with new levels of customization, from ambient note creation and natural language dictation to custom texts, templates, and AI prompts, Copilot gives you control over how documentation gets done. It also lets you surface information without leaving your workflow, from querying notes.
So we'll share more details on the community on this, but it's helping doctors, clinicians everywhere to reduce time in terms of the patient documentation, which takes a lot of time. And this would free up a lot of time where they can take out more patients and reduce the wait time.
And gets the way clinicians.
The other one is very exciting things, right? So I used to discuss things with phone, right? That phones have become boring from last, I don't know, last 3-4 years. There's nothing new that is coming in any phone. But this is something which is an exciting wave. So Perplexity collaborated with T-Mobile in the US, and now they have a new phone.
Show me the best tapas place on La Rambla.
If you're looking for the best tapas bar near La Rambla in Barcelona, Restaurant Glacier is a top recommendation. You will encounter an atmosphere of history and classics of Catalan cuisine, good wine, and cocktails.
So basically, this fundamental of this phone is very different. There are no apps, in this, all this is a very different navigation that is there in the tool. Then we have Cortical Labs releasing a real living neuron with chip to solve complex problems. So it's a first biocomputer. You can, of course, share and learn more about this. We also had Alibaba Quen coming out, which is 20x smaller than the R1 DeepSeek, and has been built with less investment, and it's free and open source. So do check out Alibaba Quen as well. We also came across the first latent diffusion-based song generation model with open weights, and it's an open source model available to where they produce something called Diff Rhythm, which can produce 4-minute songs with vocals in 10 seconds and using just lyrics and style references. So a lot of things happening in the LDM space, which is latent diffusion models as well. Then you have Converge AI, which is a proxy agent and a template hub. Proxy is your AI-powered digital assistant that explores the web and execute tasks. So this is something which came new as well. And one of the biggest update is OpenAI response APIs, where their assistant APIs are being replaced by response APIs, and you can learn more about that, of how they are reinventing how you'll be building the agents in this world. And last but not the least is world of physical AI. So this is not just restricted to just the software. We are seeing autonomous AGVs doing trails, robots. There are Indian companies who are now getting into this, Chinese company, US company building robots. So yeah, that's about the latest news. And now let's get to the main piece of it, where we'll be understanding from first Vaishali what she did to make our team AI native in marketing, and share a hack today. So over to you, Vaishali.
Thanks, Achal and Nitin. So yes, without wasting any time, I'll get started. So yes, just a quick set a little bit of context. So at FlytBase, we run a lot of events simultaneously. So just very recently, we had one of the largest drone autonomy event, a virtual event, which had 36 plus sessions. And that session itself, there were around 18 case studies which were presented. So, and we continuously keep doing multiple such events at a regular scale. So almost every week we try to do a webinar with some of our partners or the partner network across 5 different series. And repurposing the content from each of the webinars becomes a very tedious task. So for example, if we have a webinar this week, once the webinar is over, we automatically move on to the next webinar without having enough time to repurpose the content from the previous webinar, and obviously that is a lost opportunity, right? So what we decided is we leverage the power of AI to generate these in one click. So primarily each webinar has a YouTube video which gets generated after the webinar. So why can't anybody from the team, without a lot of context about what the industry is, what is the partner doing, the context of the webinar, they can just enter the YouTube URL and a case study gets published on the website or a blog. We will expand this for other collaterals as well. For now, we've started with the case studies. So a case study will automatically get updated or uploaded on Webflow, which is the website builder that we use. and it just anybody can just go through it, check it out in like 5 minutes and press the publish button and it's live. So we try to build a complete AI agent end to end for this particular workflow so that it is scalable and consistent moving forward. So first, just to share how we used to do before. So obviously for this entire process, there was a 3 or 4 team member required. While we don't have a big team, but we still have a lot to execute, a lot of campaigns going on at the same time. So obviously one person would write the content, understand the entire context of the video. The other person would review it. That the creative team member comes into picture who would add images to all of those case studies. And then there would be a Webflow person who would actually update it on the website. So it would take 3 to 4 people, and a case study typically would take around 7 days to get to a publish stage. So what we did is we tried to build a pipeline. Yes, so like I initially mentioned, that one YouTube URL video to complete case study, we try to build a pipeline. So how does the pipeline look? I will also show you the entire end-to-end workflow that we built for automating this. So one YouTube video, it generates the transcript automatically. Now we have a case study complete prompt engine that we've built. I'll share how we built that prompt as well. It generates the case study. And then the second problem that used to come is how do we analyze or add images to these case studies? So that you had to go through the entire 30-minute video or the transcript, figure out what's the most important part, take some screenshots, use relevant screenshots from the presentations, and then use and add those images into the case study, and then finally upload everything onto Webflow. So starting off with the first challenge that we try to solve, which is how do we create consistent data or consistent output from each case study? If you've used Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, you'll realize that prompting is the biggest problem that you will have to solve. By setting up a pipeline or getting anything automated is simpler, but if your prompt is weak, every time it will not generate consistent outputs. So we really focused a lot of our time on generating a prompt which will actually help us generate consistent output. So let me show you how we did that. So first we tried to create a project knowledge. So if you're not aware, all Claude and GPT both allows you to create projects instead of just independent chat. So you can either start a new chat or you can build projects. Projects provide you the ability to add a lot of context. So anything that you discuss in this particular chat window, it will refer to the context that you've created or built or added, and your outputs are going to be much superior than starting a new chat every time, because it does not have the business context of the earlier chat or the earlier share material that you've shared. So what we did is we tried to put everything here in the project context. We tried to put case study guidelines, a Risen framework. So this is a framework for writing prompts. I will share that as well. And then everything. So an example of how the prompt can be written, the case studies that we published before for GPT's reference, blogs that are the writing style or the tone in which FlytBase usually writes case studies. And we put all the material as project knowledge, and then we went on to create the case studies. So in the case study prompt, if you see, we started working with the first case study. So we entered the complete prompt. I'll show you what, and then we started generating the first case study and how the flow. So when you start creating, you'll realize that there are a lot of mistakes that it will create. It will not take the actual name. Every time the formatting will be different. The challenge section will be different. The solution will be different, implementation, all of that, results and benefits. So when you want to do it at scale and automate the entire workflow, so if you use CMS in Webflow, you realize all headers should have the same name to be able to map it correctly with the next one. So what I realized is for every output, for example, this output, it generated something called as advice for others. Now, I don't want to add this to the case study, and I had not added it in the prompt, but because the prompt was not clear enough, it generated some additional sections, which is not going to help me to automate or streamline it. So instead of me editing the prompt, I kept on talking or having a conversation with the GPT itself that I don't want to add this section. Can you modify the prompt for me? So it started improving the prompt itself, which needs to be modified. So with multiple such interactions, the speaker name is incorrect. Can you help that if I have the context information? Then I kept improving the prompt over and over again. The meta description section, the bullet section, the clear section structure. So instead of me coming up with the prompt, I used GPT or Claude in this case, and constantly updated the prompt to a stage where my prompt was actually an 8-pager prompt. So that's how lengthy a good prompt looks like, where you specified literally every little detail. So right from the role so reason framework is basically this, where you set a role for the in the prompt, the instructions, the steps that they have to follow, and then what is the end goal. Yes, I know it's pretty long, the end goal, and finally narrowing. So narrowing is where you set guardrails to this prompt so that it doesn't start hallucinating, because if you've used GPT for long, you realize that it starts hallucinating and not generate similar kind of output every time. So if you see, everything is mentioned in this prompt, like exactly how the section heading should be, how everywhere it should have like a customer, what output it is achieving or outcome, the solution type, the country in which it is, the TLDR section, the challenge, the solution, the implementation. So every time your output is pretty similar. So let me show you. So for example, this is a CSX. Everywhere, every time the data points are similar, the TLDR section is similar, the challenge, the solution, how it works, implementation, impact, and these are usually how you write a case study, you share about it. Similarly, the second case study has a similar flow. So to be able to maintain this consistency, we had to create a prompt which is pretty extensive in nature, because when you put it in a pipeline, you will not be able to import the entire project knowledge. This prompt, even if I open in a new chat, it will generate the similar output or the similar result. So this is what we try to solve first. And then once this was solved, we wanted to solve the problem of image automation. So how do we do that? What we tried to do is we again spoke to GPT and we said, I want to understand through the transcript and the video that I've fed you, that tell me exactly where are the important or the timestamps which are important to be added to the case study. So it told me exactly, say for example, this is the CSX's case study. So the network map, the drone hardware setup, and this is the exact screen or timestamp where you can take a screenshot. And similarly, we were trying to generate clips or videos from the YouTube URL, so we can repurpose that in social media and other channels as well. So it told me some 8-10 exactly areas or sections where we could exactly take the screenshot and the video, and automatically what we did is we ran a pipeline so that it can all come onto one Google folder or a Google Drive folder, where it will store every frame that we are trying to capture. And yes, so move from there, we started building this pipeline. It looks complex, but it isn't. So it is just that from the YouTube URL, it's first downloading the transcript, it's generating the case study to the prompt that we mentioned. It updates on a UI. I'll show you the UI. We are still building that. It generates the key insights, like I said, and then it generates the case study with image insertion. So even now, what we are doing is, we're telling in the case study document that it's generating only, it is telling you insert image here, insert image here. We're trying to automate that process where the images are also added in the case study itself. And then finally, we are uploading it on the Webflow. So if I have to show you on Webflow's backend, so CMS, it gets updated as queued to publish. Anybody could just go in, sorry, Webflow is not functioning right now, but yes, that's how the flow is. And now with just a click of push or a publish button, it goes on to the website. So yeah, this is pretty much the flow. And obviously we want to build such pipelines for all the kind of content that we generate from video. So for blogs, for social media promotion, for everything that we have, like we usually do in terms of repurposing. So yes, lessons, it's like prompt engineering is going to be the most important bit. Like, how do you generate the accurate prompts for consistent and scalable outputs? Wherever there's human required, use it, but like try to minimize it as much as you can. But there's no need to over engineer some steps. It's fine to have human in the loop. And finally, having a kind of pipeline built through tools like n8n or Relevance or Zapier helps a lot in automating this entire process. So yes, that's it from my end. I'm not sure if you overshot on time, but I'll just
Awesome.
If anybody has any question.
Thank you, Vaishali. Yeah, anybody, you can use a chat box or Q&A to put this, right? Bhavya is curious to understand your approach to prompt engineering. You already shared in detail, but any other nuggets that you want to share with Bhavya?
Yes, so I shared, it is important to have your prompt. Just let me get back to the idea is not to try doing things by yourself. Always figure out how you can ask GPT to constantly make the prompt better instead of you trying to write it and make it better. So for me, when I started, it was a very basic prompt, but I kept changing. Like I didn't want it to use words like revolutionizing, disrupting, game changing. So I told him, I don't want such words. You have to tell me how can I stop using these words, because they are very repetitive and overused. And I wanted to make it look, or the blog or the content to be very humanized. So name corrections, like I mentioned. So every time it kept updating and improving the prompt based on the output. So every time the new prompt, I used to use it in a new chat window and see if it's generating consistent output. If not, I'm going back and telling, I want you to add this section and FAQ section. Then later I realized the FAQs were not making a lot of sense. So I then again said that the FAQ section need to have it has to have search intent. So like I said about the forbidden words, then the search intent, like FAQs are optimized for SEO. So then again it updated the prompt, where the entire FAQ section it created this naturally, right? Focus on search intent, use complete sentences, provide valuable answers. I did not add these by myself. I constantly asked or discussed with GPT to build this.
That's great, Bashir. That's great. Ajinkya is asking, how would you design an automation pipeline for deploying updates to cloud-based SaaS application while ensuring minimal downtime? So, I mean, we can take this separately, Ajinkya. This is much more related to marketing. Actually, can take that up. Let's see what's the next question. Rishabh, want you to explain one more time how you ensure that the output text is in the same format.
Right. So output text, there are, like I said, in the prompt itself, the first level where we did is where we structured the entire. So like you can see, we set up all case studies must use these exact section headings with no modification. So that way your all section headings are exactly the same, which you can use and create a CMS in Webflow or whatever content management platform you're using for your website. So it maintains this. Like you can even set the hierarchy H1, H2. And then if you see in our N10 pipeline, we have a particular, once the entire case study is generated, we need to create CSV in HTML format, which helps you to import it in Webflow. So you could add this in any automation pipeline that you are building.
Great. So thank you so much, Vishali. We're already on time. So you, if you don't mind, you can answer those rest of the questions in the chat itself. You can type that. Right, and you can people can also join the community. There is a join the community button on the top, so just hit that and you'll get an email soon. And Vishali can answer those questions, and we'll quickly take up Prathamesh's DVD process. Over to you, Prathamesh.
Okay, thank you, Achal, for the introduction. So, hi guys, I am Prathamesh. I work in the product team at FlytBase. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start. So basically, I'll be talking about how we see the future of product development and how AI is changing the traditional processes that we used to follow. So basically, the overall theme is how can we have an idea and take it to the production as quickly as possible. This is a simple theme that we are following and trying to solve. So basically, if you see the traditional process, right, how does it flow? So for this demo, I'll be showing how to take an idea to front end, and in the next session, we can see how to take it further. So even for that, what is the traditional process that we follow? So basically, a product manager has to write a PRD where it writes the problem statement, the user requirements, and the expectations. And after that, it hands it over to the designer, where the designer has to now think from scratch what will be the solution or better approach to solve the specific problem, right? Now, once those decisions are done, now a designer has to articulate all those things into Figma, give it a tangible look, and define the UX pattern, UI interactions, pixel by pixel, using rectangles, squares, and circles. And after that, we have to document all those things, the states, decisions, so that the developer understands the logic, understands the UI interactions, and it is able to build on it. So basically, developers try to replicate whatever is already built in Figma. So if you think fundamentally, there are so many layers in this entire process that is acting as blockers in terms of coming to a solution. So we are thinking, how can we make this process more streamlined so that if a person has an idea, he can take it to production as soon as possible or can execute it as soon as possible. So the entire thing was, how can we reduce the layers in this process? And it takes more than 5 to 6 people in this entire chain to make this work. So how to reduce those human handovers and human dependencies, which causes errors and miscommunications, right? So the entire thing that we're trying to solve is using this tool stack. So this is the framework that we have come up with and the workflow, which is think, design, build. It simply says that if you have an idea, you can on your own without depending on product manager, designer, or a developer, you can take it to production. You can make the code working and you can add value to the customer right away. So this is the framework that we have been following, and I'll be showing you a demo of how we can make this work using AI. So this is our AI tool stack that we have been able to figure it out doing a lot of experiments. So for brainstorming, we are using ChatGPT and Claude. So you must have seen a lot of tutorials where people are talking about using ChatGPT for user personas, doing research and stuff. But that is just like 5% of the work that a person has to do, right? Like it doesn't add any value if you don't utilize to come up with a good solution. So I won't be talking about that. I'll be talking about how can you take bigger decisions with the help of these smart models. And for design and development, we have V0, Lovable, and Bolt. These are basically AI tools for development. Based on prompt, they create dashboards. How do we utilize them to build enterprise-grade products is the overall achievement that we are able to crack. So I will get back to Claude. So Baisali has given a good overview of what Claude is and how to utilize the project knowledge and the project file. So basically, this is the context window that we have. So basically, we are using it to set parameters, limitations to the output that we have. So basically, if you see, we work in the aviation industry, right? So here I have given docking station and drone specifications. It helps us set parameters for the model so that the output that we get is very suitable and grounded to our context. And it doesn't hallucinate, or it is not imaginative, it is not fictional. It is actually usable and it is worthy for the customer to use it. So I won't go into depth of promptings and how we do it, how we do the brainstorming part. But the overall thought process is we have to nudge the model in such a direction that we are able to get to the output or solution faster. So basically, think like how do you make the model think in a way or the aspects that as a product designer or product manager you have to think. Now, as a product designer, I have to think from UX standpoint. We work in the aviation industry, so I also have to ensure safety. So I try to nudge the model in such a way that it considers all the aspects and give me the solution. As soon as I brainstorm, come up with a scope, I tell it to write a PRD, and based on the PRD, I tell it to make an artifact. So artifact is a feature in Claude where it writes the code and it shows the preview. Now this is a very small component that Claude was able to make, but it sorted out the grouping for me, the interactions for me on a high level. Obviously the UI doesn't look good, but the UX that it had considered and the UX copy and everything is like mind blowing. Now you might say that the design is done, right? But it is just 30 to 40% of the work that a designer has to do. Now after this, the designer has to do PNCs, make variants of the states so that developers understand what to build actually. So assume this red color, right? How do we define this red color? What is the threshold that is defining the red color? What is the threshold that is defining the yellow color? And so on. What will be the UX copy? If the aircraft is not above, it is below. Now all these PNCs will take a designer a lot of time, 3 to 4 days to think, understand the complexity and come up with a good solution. And it also depends upon the skill of the designer. To solve this, I just use one prompt and Claude does the job for me. It is able to make a sheet where it says if aircraft detected, the threshold is lesser than 2 kilometers, the severity is critical. What should be the primary action? What should be the UX copy and so on? What should be the interactions? Now I can pass this sheet directly to the developer to build the logic and the backend. And I don't have to rely on any other factor. Like I had value, I used to get paid because I was good at asking these questions. But now it is just one prompt that is replacing everything. And it is sorting all the things for all the factors, and these factors are very complicated, and it takes a lot of skill set in terms of even asking those questions and coming up with solution. Even it sorted out the logic for me. If whether an airspace is detected at the same time, what should be the priority? Now these are a lot of things designers often miss, and the quality is also not that good. So that is what Claude sorts out. It can take complex decisions and remove the cognitive load from your side. Now we are saying if you can mix the small components in Claude, right? We were using Claude because it can understand parameters, constraints, and it can come up with a good UX solution. But it is not good with coding or UI UX in terms of visual. So we figured out Lovable and V0 Bolt. They are the tools which are actually good with developing stuff. So I thought if Claude can make UX, it can explain UX as well. So we are using Claude as a prompt generator for Lovable. So if you see the prompt, it says simple thing like act as a prompt generator for Lovable. You have to divide the entire scope into phases and prompts so that I can feed it one by one in Lovable. Now the job is quite easier. Once the brainstorming is done, the scope is finalized. I just feed in this prompt. I get a series of prompts, and my job is quite simple after this. I just have to take the prompts, copy them, and fit it in Lovable. That's it. So I put in one prompt. After that, it gave an error fixed on its own. And similarly, I pushed a series of prompts there, and after the inserting all the prompts, this was the output. And the UI is far good compared to, it takes around 2 years of experience for a designer to come up with this UI, and all the flows are sorted. Like the major thing is the error cases mapping and edge cases mapping. If you try to resolve what will be the pop-up, if you do respond, what should be the pop-up and how should the interactions be, all those things are sorted by Claude and available for me. And similarly, if you try this workflow, there is no going back, because you are now used to speed, which like it is like months of work you get done in hours. All those dashboards are built in like 20-30 minutes by me using those prompts technique. Obviously brainstorming took time, but making this is just the time that Lovable takes to build this. Similarly, I was able to make a lot of dashboards which had all the interactions and stuff, and which UI is also quite superior than what a average designer would build. But the problem is we can't use this code directly in terms of technical aspects, because if you see, all those dashboards look different. It doesn't look like it is FlytBase's product, right? Because it doesn't follow the design language that we have, the design system that we have, and even from a front-end code standpoint, it doesn't have the structure or unification that we have. The libraries that we use, the components that we use are not unified. So our design team and developer team have been working really hard to crack this. Now, how to make this code work? Because if you are able to make this, why do you even need Figma, right? Means why do you go back into the chain and draw something in the canvas and make the rectangles pixels and then again code for it? If you can use this directly, it will be such a game changer thing. So that's what we are trying to crack. We were able to crack out design system. How can we use our own design system in this style component, so that if I have to change the blue color, right, I can change it tomorrow, and the code is also superior quality. We are trying to set guardrails using prompt techniques, telling the models which tech stack to use, what libraries to use specifically, so that the code is unified, not just for one feature across dashboard. And even we are building sort of code verifiers. Now this is not an automated process where code gets verified by Claude based on our standards and design system rules, but we'll be able to crack it pretty soon, and we won't ever need Figma or the major blockers that we have. So that is the overall thing that we were able to crack. If you see this feature as well, it has all the design system components that we have and all the major library things that is required for a design to be called completed. And even the logic, now I can just use this code. I can sit with the backend guy and we can build the logic and get this done in instance. Now this is like months worth of work done in days. And that's what I'm trying to pitch, and get away from the traditional processes, and we have to rethink the entire chain, so that what matters is the solution. It doesn't matter what process do you follow, what tools do you use. What matters to the users is this solution right away. So that's it. Everybody has access to the intelligence. It is just like people can find out creative ways to use it. This is the workflow that we were able to find out. And find out a different sort of tool set. You can find something even better. But the main point is to rethink and get new ways to do things. I think that's it from my side.
Thanks, Prathamesh. So that was pretty mind-blowing, right? So we discussed two examples. So Baishali shared what we are doing on the marketing side, and Prathamesh shared on the product side. So product side, again, we are trying to find hacks so that we can build an enterprise-grade product without actually getting into Figma and by skipping so many steps. So pretty much a single person is able to go all the way from the idea, like what is it that needs to be built, to getting the front end without writing a single line of code. And we are soon kind of trying to even combine it with the rest of the steps so that we can pretty much build the entire feature in a way that is highly automated or highly leveraging the AI. So I don't think we have much time left for Q&A. What I would encourage everybody to do is maybe join the AHC. So I'll put up on the screen. So here are the details to join the AI Hackers Collective. So this is a community that we are building where everybody who wants to be AI native, who wants to be a super user of AI, will be a member of this community, and we will be able to share a lot more details with each other at a much higher frequency, because this Session is going to happen only once a week, and we will be able to only cover so many topics in half an hour. But if you join this community, we will be able to engage in more discussions and go deeper in all of these topics and share like whatever we are learning, also learn from you. I'm sure you're discovering a lot of things as well. So it's going to be a whole new gold mine of knowledge of things that we all need to discover with AI. And let's join this community to continue our learning. So thank you so much. We'll be back next Thursday with a couple of more hacks. And again, everything will be mind-blowing. Everything will be something that will completely change the way you think about how we do things today. So see you next week on Thursday, 4 p.m. That's Nitin signing off.